Okay, welcome on into the Below Par podcast with myself, Joe, and other Joe. We'll do introductions as we go through. This is the first episode. Really exciting for us. It's a new rebrand for what was Joe's channel. We've now joined forces and renamed it Below Par. It's going to be predominantly podcasts, but there's going to be a bit more content as we go and as we feel fit, really. We're both PGA pros, but again, we're going to talk about that throughout the podcast. There's different subjects to go. So as it's early days, you'll start to build hopefully a relationship with us and start to like what we're trying to do. And if you'd like to stay tuned with what we're doing, click the subscribe button, hit the bell notification to be notified about all uploads. And we're going to start to build a social media across Twitter and Instagram as well. So that's the aim, to keep you updated of what's coming out and what ideas we've got, and to stay interactive with you guys as well, because we'd like to hear what you'd like to say and what you'd like to hear us say. Sorry.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, Joe.
Well, I think certainly, obviously, it's exciting, isn't it? First sort of podcast. I know technically it's not the first podcast. We have had the Golf Fashion Guy on, but however, this is our first podcast with just us two, which I think is pretty cool. And certainly, I mean, in terms of future things, having potentially an Instagram account at some point, obviously we've spoken about that, which I think potentially be good in the long run. But if you haven't already, make sure to check us out on Instagram. You've got Joe Lovery and Joe Stevens PGA, I believe.
I missed a plug there.
Well, you did miss a plug, mate. That's unlike you to miss a plug as well. Fair. You like a plug? Have you said about hitting the notification icon?
I did. So because this was Joe's channel, I'm new to the YouTube game, but I watch a lot of YouTube, and rumor has it you've got to click the notification bell. So please do that to stay notified, and we'll hopefully keep you entertained over the course of for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it's something. Hopefully, this is something. I know that this is going to sound quite selfish, but it's something we're doing, I think, very much for us. It's something that we've wanted to do. It's not something we've been asked to do, or not something that a brand has gone, oh, this would be great, or an employer has gone, that'd be great if you do this. This is something that we want to do, and obviously, as a lot of people know, when you want to do something, it very often turns out better than if you're asked to do it. So that's kind of the idea behind this: is that we want to do this. We want to kind of be able to share our stories and bring guests on that you'll find interesting. And that'll be done by, us wanting to do it. So we'll film and upload pretty much when we want. But it's roughly going to be one a week, I think, at the moment, isn't it? We sort of said one a week.
I think that's the aim. Yeah.
And I think obviously hopefully as this takes off, it'll be more a need then maybe to get more. But I think for a minute, we're going to start as one a week. We don't want it to feel like a job. No. We are two guys that work full time already. We've already got jobs, so it would just be nice to have this as something we can do in an evening and then can upload and no real pressure around it at the moment. So I think that sort of gives an idea of a little bit of a background, doesn't it, about why we're sort of making the podcast.
I think so.
So I guess now you probably want to know who we are, because at the minute we are just two random Joes chatting to you through a podcast. Obviously, I know a few of you will know who I am through my YouTube page and what I was trying to do beforehand. But obviously, you will have seen Joe potentially in a couple of episodes. I seem to remember there's a couple like Don't Swing It Over the Top and a couple of putting drills where you sort of played dummy.
Which took about 5 hours to record, a 20-minute video. Well, not even 20 minutes. But it was all fun and games.
It was fun and games. I mean, we did have some fun, didn't we? Especially when we sort of recorded. We used to basically, so when we were working before, when we used to work together, they would ask to do lesson offer videos. So I sort of go in and I get mine done quite nicely. And the joke like, oh, can you come and record mine for me? Yeah, no problem. I kid you not, this is a guy that then couldn't spit his name out for quite a long period of time. And he would sort of say the offer the wrong way around, or, words would get mixed up. But I think that's amusing. I think this is going to be a lot easier for you. And I mean, certainly in terms of the editing, I mean, it's going to be quite raw. It is a conversation, and it will stay quite raw throughout the episode. So I want you guys to really kind of get a feel on that. I feel like if it's a conversation, you'll be able to follow it, and hopefully be able to follow it if we don't go off on a complete tangent, which we normally do. And I think we did a little bit in the one yesterday with the Golf Fashion Guy, just a little bit.
Which are we planning on releasing that after this one?
Yeah, so this will be what goes out first, and then the one with the golf fashion guy will go out. I'm tempted to say a week's time. So this
Yeah,
is currently,
if we're aiming for one a week, we can.
yeah,
Oh, by the way, I mean, the golf fashion guy was great, wasn't he?
he
Yeah,
was very good.
that's the first time I've had a conversation with. I know you know him well.
Yeah,
Um, really, really enthusiastic about his fashion, and it really opened my eyes to what you can look into and
exactly.
some of the awful mistakes some club members can make. If well, I mean, some
Yeah.
people don't really care, do they? But
No, I mean like
that's
a
that's
grey
that's there.
grey gilet with a black bit on it with the white shirt.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
with a
I'm glad I'm not wearing this
bit of
when he's
belt.
on.
No, absolutely. No,
Sam,
go foot to okay as well.
he assured us he'd be watching, so I do apologise about this one. Drop a comment down below if you really don't like what I'm wearing. But
Right, so
it's just new. If it's new, you want to wear it, don't you?
oh, absolutely, absolutely. So let's chat a little bit then about who we are. So as we
Yes.
sort of said earlier, we're both PGA pros. Um,
I don't know whether PGA will be watching this, but I am almost a PGA pro.
okay, Joe is almost
By title, I'm a PGA assistant professional. Soon to be fully qualified, hopefully.
yes. Well, I
So
mean, I was in,
that'll be coming up in May. So
yes.
May, hopefully, PGA, my gold card, hopefully, will be on the way. But Joe's now been qualified, almost a year.
Not quite. So oh well, yeah, not far off because probably when I first found out was in June, and I
Oh,
only remember that because I was on the tee box doing Beat the Pro, and as you imagine, I was there from about 12 o'clock, and I think the results get released. I think it's after 5. I think it's 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock. Your
yeah,
results get released. So I've been stood there doing Beat the Pro all day, and as you imagine, having one group after another coming through, I can feel myself starting to get a little bit nervous as the day goes on. I remember it sort
yeah.
of got to 4 o'clock or just before 4, and a load of people on the WhatsApp group. For those of you who don't know, a lot of the time in your PGA training, you have like a year group on WhatsApp. And a lot of them then were saying about the results they've got. I remember looking, and mine still hadn't been uploaded yet, and I was like, right,
And
okay,
it was early, wasn't it? Well, mine certainly were.
yeah. So mine were
'Cause
late. Mine were just
yeah,
and I know a lot of people
they were
had them, and
feeling
I'm there
pressured.
thinking, oh no, like what if mine haven't been marked, and all the worst thoughts come in your head. But luckily, they all came in, and it was all passed. And the funny thing was, I read it on the tee box. At that point, obviously, I was very happy. And it was one of the last groups then to go. And the first shot that I hit as a technically fully qualified PGA pro, within reason, as in a pass my exam sort of thing. I knew I'd passed. You know, you still have to apply for a membership. My approach shot on the par 3 actually lipped out, and that would have been one of my first hole in ones. So that would have been quite a cool moment. But
What a start that'd have been.
oh, wouldn't it? Would have been a great start. Yeah, absolutely. But it's one of those things, isn't it, that wasn't quite meant to be. Wasn't quite meant to be. Um,
So we're both affiliated to the PGA. Both
yes,
work within the golf industry. Hence why this will be very much golf orientated. This channel.
absolutely. So one thing I was going to say as well, if you guys want to know a little bit more about what Joe's going through, because I know in the next couple of months you're going to have your finals. If you guys want to know anything about that or want to know what he's sort of learning, that sort of thing, do put that in the comments below because I'm sure we'd happily do some sort of video on it
Yeah,
where Joe can kind of talk you through what it is that you have to do in the final year. Because I know being in his position, probably feel a little bit stressed at this moment about it all coming up.
it's quite pressurized.
It's quite
So
pressurized.
I've got. I don't want to bore the viewers too much with what I've got coming up, but I've got essentially one more assignment to do, which is a business plan,
Yep.
and then we go into all the practical stuff that golf pros will see day to day.
Yeah.
So golf coaching, custom fitting, all this sort of stuff. Um, yeah. So if you want to know what detail PGA pros throughout their training need in
I,
order to pass, then let's do it.
I think it'd be a great thing to get out there because I think a lot of people think a PGA Pro, you just turn up and you get qualified. I think people don't realize perhaps quite the depth you have to go into
Yeah,
and actually how
yeah.
much of accreditation it is now in order to have that behind you. So I think that's certainly something we can look at. But I think just going back a step further, then obviously you got into the PGA because you were a good golfer. Um, let's
Yeah.
just hear a little bit about the sort of playing career, and then I think that'll lead in quite nicely to how we met.
It will. Now, where shall I start? I'll brush over. I started playing golf when I was 5, 6 years old, and then as a 10-year-old, naturally, football and cricket was a bit more interesting really at that age. So golf really took a back seat until I was about 15, 16, and just fell in love with it. And from there, played and played and played as you do. Sort of summer holidays from school. I mean, I bet every sort of 15, 16-year-old will be the same now that are nuts about golf.
Yeah.
Get dropped off at the golf course if you're not driving early in the morning, and get picked up late at night in the summer holidays. I mean, that's how most
It's quite standard, isn't it?
people at that age get. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Couple of quid for cheesy chips is the cliche saying, isn't it?
Yes.
You get dropped off with a couple of quid. But yeah, from there on in, I played and played and played, got my handicap down and started to progress really, really well. And at 18, I was just about finishing up at college. I think at the time I was off for round one when I was lucky enough to get offered a job and start my PGA. Did my first year, really, really enjoyed it. I'd moved away from the job. And say again.
Where were you for your first year?
I thought we weren't mentioning names at all as we go along, but
we'll put that name in. That's fine.
We may as well. Anyway, I did about 15 months worth of work at Wisley in Surrey, one of the top exclusive courses in England. UK, Britain and Ireland, really. And it was in fact a fantastic condition, and it was an amazing experience. But unfortunately, at that stage, after 15 months working as a trainee, having moved away for the job, it was just naturally at that stage you couldn't coach, couldn't do anything like that.
Yeah.
So it just got expensive to live around that area. So with that experience, and as I was progressing as a golfer as well, I still had the bug to play. At that stage, I thought, right, I'm going to put my PGA training on hold, and I'm going to go and play. Lucky enough, I had a couple of people to back me. Not totally. In only recent times, I've got rid of those debts from this stage of the story. So I went and played for a couple of years, having not doing my training, etc., etc., etc. Really, really enjoyed it, and I think we've got plans to do an episode just on this subject of trying to play as a young golfer.
Absolutely,
because
I mean, I think it'd be good.
We've both experienced it, and I took, luckily, after a couple of years, I took what I now call a sensible decision, because I was all right at golf. But really, was I good enough? But equally, you've got to look at whether I was driven enough to get good enough.
Yeah.
And at that stage, I really wasn't. And the worry of money is a huge subject within that. So anyway, after that couple of years, went back onto the PGA, started from scratch, and now I'm coming to the end of it 3 years later. So yeah, that's me. I've been around the block, and how we know each other. Well, we'll talk about that now. But
yeah. So just a little bit of my background, I guess. Started playing golf at the age of 3. Actually ended up on TV at the age of 3, which was quite a funny one. Yeah, so that was that.
I know that.
Those clips?
No, we'll have to do something on that.
Okay, we'll do something on this. So there's a Sky Sports clip and BBC News and all that sort of thing for golf, and then that was probably when I was playing at my best, and it was a steady decline from there, I think. When I was about sort of 14. No, even earlier, actually younger than that. I was playing for county, which was obviously quite a cool thing. Was in the county setup, which was brilliant. Then went to a school as well that supported my sort of sporting career, as you would call it, really well as well. Very good sports school. That helped. And then ended up really finding a bit of a bug for it when I went to a place called Tournament Golf College, which is down in Plymouth. And that was really good. So I actually went. So a lot of people kind of ask you, well, why didn't you go to the States? That's always a common question. Yeah, if you're a good golfer, you go to the States. Well, for me, I remember going in to sit my SAT exam, and that for me was just something I didn't want to do, so I didn't actually attend it, despite obviously having a seat at the time, which, I mean, I look back at now and think, well, what could have been? But I really enjoyed the whole experience of, I was out in Portugal for 3 months a year for 3 years. It was hardly tough. And it was great, playing on tour. And, it's great to see that some of the people I was playing with at that point, Marcus Armitage, for example, has just qualified now to go and play in the Open. Well, I was playing golf with, I played a round of golf with him through that. Guys like Andrew Johnston, used to practice with him a lot, and I can go into more depth with that. But having that kind of connection, I wouldn't have had that had I gone to the States, to mix with really college players, that sort of thing. But you wouldn't have that same link. So that was pretty amazing doing that. And then it was a bit strange for me. I decided I enjoyed the coaching side a lot. That was something that I enjoyed. And that kind of really tempted me into my PGA really.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, yeah, lucky enough just to qualify this summer, which was quite nice really. It was good.
Nice.
So going back to Europro on how we met. So
Yeah.
this now would be quite a few years ago, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so on the timeline of what we've just explained there, you just finished at TGC, Tournament Golf College, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I had just left of Wisley to start playing full time. So that's the timeline, isn't it? And the first time we met was then when we
Europro,
met
yeah,
on the first tee of Europro qualifying.
which is strange because I think if they'd have said that you'd have sort of lived together, worked together, and then now started a podcast together, I don't think I'd have believed you because I didn't like you very much on the day. So
that's probably because I beat him.
Yeah, but how many birdies did you make?
But we weren't all that successful. I think that. Oh, should we tell that story today? I mean, it only takes 30 seconds, doesn't it?
Yeah. How many rounds of golf did we play, Joe?
So we played 2 rounds of golf.
Yeah.
Did we play 2 rounds of golf? Yeah, we played
2 rounds of
two
golf.
rounds of golf. Yeah. So obviously 2 rounds of golf, 36 holes. I think what was I? It's the reserve list was like 7 over par for 36 holes, which naturally, I mean, that's not very good, but I missed out by 1, and I've gone around those 36 holes making 4 double bogeys and the rest pars. And I think Joe can vouch for this. I hadn't actually played all that badly. It was one of those things that just nothing went in the hole, and that really kick-started the blimey. This is going to be hard, because that was my first sort of full-time playing tournament.
Yeah.
To try and kick-start it, and obviously missing out by 1's never easy. But one of those things. Anyway, that's where we met, and that was a frustrating week.
Yeah. Absolutely. So obviously that moves us on a little bit to sort of what we're doing now. So you're an assistant, aren't you, at a very nice golf course? Don't have to mention the name, but it's a very good golf course.
If the observant people of the podcast will, on the very poor quality camera, maybe see the crest on my chest.
They might be able to,
but we'll go into where we are and what we're doing later on, I think.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a secret, but it's not that important right now.
No, absolutely.
So from there, our reuniting. Let's talk about that, shall we? Let's go down the timeline. Yeah, so obviously we met at Europro qualifying.
Yep.
And then it must have been, a couple of years later, because that's how long I started playing. Sorry, that's how long I played
after you came back, really.
Yeah. So I'd just done a winter in Spain, trying to get fresh for the new season. And during that preparation winter, I made the decision to stop playing and started applying for jobs. And it just so happens that I applied and got a job, and this guy was there. And we hadn't really discussed it until I turned up.
No, I sort of saw you and went, I recognize that guy.
Yeah.
And then was like, I've played golf with this guy before. And then obviously I remembered your name was Joe, because it's the same name as mine, so it's easy.
Easy.
I remember going, yeah, no, he seemed all right. And then, then we just sort of started working together, didn't we? And then played a bit of golf together and ended up
a couple of years there.
Oh, but that's a very long story.
The 2 years we spent working together, there's a lot of stories to come out of that, and maybe we'll talk about their episodes in themselves.
I think if somebody wants to hear some stories about that, they can put it in the comments below. Some I think can't be shared, others can be shared. Depends.
Yeah. We'll say no more about that for now.
Absolutely. Obviously, it's great though that we are now at completely separate ends of the country. To give you an idea of this is why we're doing the podcast over this sort of software. Joe is based down towards London sort of way, Surrey, that kind of area. I'm based north of Leeds, but we both sort of were in Gloucester before, so you can imagine now this transition. We are at separate ends of the country, but we've decided actually that it's a really good opportunity opportunity to sort of stay in touch, but also keep being able to produce good content and building a sort of following or more than anything, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
think, like I said at the beginning, it's not just going to be podcasts. I
No,
mean,
not at all.
if we find an opportunity to film something, then we will. Because
Absolutely.
I know certainly I've got plans to not start playing seriously again, but I'm going to start to play more and more golf
Yeah.
as my training comes to an end, while I'm less busy with assignments and exams and all that sort of stuff. So
Absolutely.
maybe how to prepare for a tournament, all that sort of stuff. But we know there's a lot of people on YouTube that do that already, but we want to try and do something a little bit different. So we'll try and mix it up a bit, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been quite nice actually, because this winter has been the first winter that I've not had to do assignments in 6 years.
Oh, this time next year,
Honestly, it's
I'll
brilliant.
be tempted to go play again and then
I
fall back
played I
down to
played
earth.
3 times last week.
Blimey. Do you know what? Actually, since I've stopped playing seriously and just started to relax a little bit, went out and played yesterday. I don't think I've ever hit the ball as well. Just go out and whack it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's we play regularly on a Sunday morning with the members, and they love it. We love it. It gets us some fresh air and gets us out the
Absolutely.
shop, and a few tips along the way, so they're happy.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, it's
So
great.
just to give everyone a bit of an idea then as to what's happening kind of in the future with this channel. So we've got quite a few people I think forecasted to come on, haven't we? Or in terms
We
of
have.
guests that we want to try and get on board. Obviously, say we've got the golf fashion guy that we've recorded. I've got a couple of guys who I know who are players, whether they be on the various sort of satellite tours, and I think it's always quite interesting to hear what they're going through at that point, because essentially these guys are really close to trying to make their break. And I think it'd be interesting maybe to follow some of their progress. If you guys want to see that, please put it in the comments below. But also we've got things, we'll chat about different bits of equipment that potentially are coming out. We can chat about different techniques. I know certainly I've got Dane Duffin. I'm going to plug him in there. He's somebody who is starting to really get himself quite big with a company called Blast Golf, which I believe is sort of putting software. He's a really good guy to speak to as well. Very knowledgeable on the subject. So I think it'd be great to kind of get our contacts on board, and then be able to share that with you lot listening. So
That's the whole thing, isn't it? Any guests that we do approach and they listen to this, you have no option. You're coming on because we need the help. Preferably the big names that we can put in the title. But yeah. So we've been through a lot now. How long have we been going? Quite a while.
Yeah. I think we'll leave it there for this evening.
What's the next subject then?
I was going to say we'd leave it there for this evening.
Oh, I'm enjoying myself. I'm keep going. No, we don't want to bore them too much. So
I think we've crossed pretty much everything we want to do for our first sort of one. A little bit of who we are, obviously about how we met, just briefly, and then what we're doing now. I think we've covered most of those things, and I think this will start to give you a little bit of an insight as to our podcast. But they're going to be quite relaxed. This is not something where we tend to go off topic quite a lot, but I think a lot of people will enjoy that, and how you end up chatting about weird things. A couple of conversations with the golf fashion guy are quite amusing, so do make sure you stay tuned for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, in that case, we'll leave it there. Thanks for tuning into the Below Park podcast, and we will keep you
Below
updated.
Bub podcast.
Sorry?
You say Below Bub?
I might have done. It's early days.
So this is Below Par, Joe. Below Par.
This is Below Par podcast.
That's it. There we go.
Thank you.
We're in.
Like we said at the beginning, smash the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, post any comments down below on what you'd like to see from us. And that's all we really have to say. Follow our Instagram accounts, Joe Lovery. You're Joe_Lovery, are you?
No, just Joe Lovery.
Living the dream.
Wasn't taken.
I'm Joe Stevens, PGA. So give me a follow, please. I'm struggling. You'll see the difference in the amount of followers that we've got. So help me catch up. Thank you. We don't really need to say much more. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all soon.
It's been Below Par. Thanks.